the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Let's go to John now in Wheaton, Illinois. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Patrick. I was wondering, in the absence of the Pope, who's making the day-to-day decisions there, and are they now elevated in their position, or what?
Well, that's a good question. So more or less the machinery of the Apostolic See has ground to a halt, with the exception of certain things that need to be done. Let's say, for example, by the Camerlengo. That's an Italian word for the Chamberlain, in this case, Cardinal Farrell, who was appointed by Pope Francis before his death, obviously. And his job is to oversee the things that need to happen that are happening right now, including the transfer of the late Pope's body from the chapel in the Casa Santa Marta to St. Peter's. There was a special ceremony involved, and the Camerlengo, Cardinal Farrell, would oversee those details. The work of the different dicasteries or congregations in the Vatican, in a way, kind of comes to a halt insofar as a decision that would be made. Let's say that there was an excommunication of somebody that was reserved to the Apostolic See, something that only the Pope himself could lift. Well, things like that, of course, are dead in the water. Nothing's going to happen until the new Pope is elected. Keeping the lights turned on, keeping the water running in the Vatican City state, all of those things continue, and the people who have the role or the duty, they continue doing those kind of things. But decisions or things like where will the next World Youth Day be, or this person is up for canonization, all of those kind of things, anything like that, naming new bishops, naming rectors of seminaries, things like that, all of that has come to a halt. And then when the new Pope is elected, it will be at his pace that these different heads of the departments will begin reporting to him and telling him, okay, here are the things that have been backed up that need your attention. And then he'll triage the things that he wants to move on sooner and the others that can be delayed. Those kinds of things, John, are in abeyance right now, if that answers your question.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess it does. So I realize that they're going to move forward rapidly, I assume, to find a replacement. But I know in the Church's history that there have been periods where there hasn't been a designated pope. Is that right?
Well, yes, that is true every single time a pope dies. So there is no designated pope ahead of time. In other words, no pope says, okay, when I die, this is the guy who I want to be the next pope. He might say that privately to somebody, but even if he were to say that, it has no weight whatsoever, because the Pope is elected under the current system by the cardinals. So even if Pope Francis had said, hey, I really, 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 want Cardinal so-and-so to be the next Pope, it carries no weight. It might be influential for some people, but when the cardinals gather, they'll decide who the next Pope will be.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank
Interesting
you.
stuff, no doubt about it. Well, thank you, John. I appreciate that. I think a lot of people, young people especially right now, they only remember Pope Francis. He's the only pope that they even really know. If you're a young adult, chances are the case. Those of you who are older, you remember Pope Benedict, and those of you who are a little older than that, you remember Pope John Paul II. He became pope in 1978. Not a lot of people remember too much about Pope John Paul I because he was only in office for 33 days and he died unexpectedly. That would have been interesting to see what would have happened during his pontificate, but we'll never know. And before him was Pope Paul VI, who was elected in 1963 and reigned until his death in 1978. Before him, it was Pope John the 23rd, who was the one who inaugurated. He's the one who called for and then inaugurated Vatican II. So as you can see, the further back you go, the more the memory of these earlier popes fades into obscurity and people just don't know about them or don't know what happened, and that's to be expected. And in due time, future generations will look back and not remember a lot of details about some of the popes that are familiar to us. It's just the way time keeps marching on. And the Catholic Church is moving ever into the future. For 2,000 years now, the 266th Pope, the Bishop of Rome, these are all successors of St. Peter, the first Bishop of Rome. And so it will continue until the end. And who knows if any of us will be here then. I have a feeling we probably won't be. But at some point, it's all going to wrap up. And it would certainly be interesting to have a view of that. I guess those in heaven will have a view of it. But what will the church go through in those final months and years before Jesus returns to judge the nations? Talk about dramatic. You can join me by listening to The Patrick Madrid Show on the Relevant Radio app, live each weekday at 8 to 11 a.m. And thanks for listening.